When you hear the word prophet, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably some mysterious figure, right? Someone who predicts the future. But what if that's not the whole story? Not even close. Today we're diving into the real world of the biblical prophets, and it's a story that's all about courage, fighting for justice, and messages that, believe it or not, still echo in our world today.
The lion has roared. Who will not fear? I mean, just think about that for a second. This quote from the prophet Amos really gets to the heart of it all. Imagine you hear a lion roar right beside you. You don't just, ignore it. For these prophets, getting a divine message was exactly like that. It was this unstoppable, kind of terrifying and urgent feeling that they had to speak. This wasn't a career path they chose. It was a calling they literally could not refuse.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to figure out who these prophets really were. Then, we'll get into the mysterious part, how they got these incredible messages. After that, we'll look at the massive impact they had over time. And finally, we'll connect the dots and see why these ancient voices are, amazingly, still so relevant today.
Okay, let's start at the beginning and build a solid foundation. When we use the word prophet, what picture should we really have in our minds? Because I promise you, it's way more dynamic and challenging than just a simple fortune teller.
Here's a good working definition for us. And, the key words here aren't just teacher or messenger. Look at that last part, social critic. That is so crucial. It means they weren't just talking about abstract spiritual ideas. No, they were on the ground, calling out corrupt leaders and systems that were unfair. You could almost call them the original whistleblowers.
Let's just bust this myth right now. The common idea, the misconception, is that prophets are all about predicting the far-off future, like some passive crystal ball gazer. But the reality? They were all about speaking truth to the present. Their focus wasn't on some kind of magical sight. It was on moral insight. They were diagnosing the problems in their own society and actively trying to change things for the better.
So you can kind of think of a prophet as wearing three different hats all at once. First, they were the divine messenger, right? Relaying a message from a higher power. Second, they were the social critic, holding up a mirror to society and pointing out its flaws. And third, they were the visionary, not just complaining about problems, but actually offering a vision, a roadmap for a more just and hopeful future.
So let's build on that. If these prophets weren't just making stuff up, where did these powerful, world-changing messages actually come from? This question really gets to the very heart of what made them so compelling.
And this is the central question, isn't it? Because without a source, their words are just opinions. The source is where they got their authority, their courage, and their absolute conviction. So let's dig into the two main ways they felt they received these incredible messages.
Okay, so generally speaking, their experiences fell into two big buckets. On one side, you have internal visions. These were messages that came through dreams or a strong inner voice or just these incredibly powerful feelings. They were deeply personal and often open to interpretation. And then on the other side, you've got these external encounters. We're talking tangible, undeniable events like a burning bush or a visit from an angel. Stuff that was pretty much impossible to ignore.
So, what were these messages actually about? Well, they weren't about predicting who would win the lottery. The themes were always huge. They gave some pretty stark warnings about where society was heading if it didn't change its ways. They offered profound hope, promising a brighter future, even when things seemed completely dark. And above all, they were champions of justice, constantly calling for fair treatment for the poor and the marginalized. It was this powerful mix of accountability, hope, and compassion.
Now here's where things get really incredible. These messages weren't just spoken and then, poof, lost to the wind. They were remembered, they were written down, they were passed on for generations. They literally became legacies set in stone, shaping human history for thousands of years.
I just love this way of putting it. Their words weren't disposable comments on the news of the day. They were more like foundational ideas, seeds of justice, hope, and accountability that were planted with the full expectation that they would grow and bear fruit for generations to come.
This timeline really shows that amazing journey. It all starts with one person, one voice delivering a message, often putting themselves in real danger to do it. Then, that message gets debated, passed around, and slowly starts to change how an entire society thinks. Eventually, those words might even become part of holy texts, which solidifies their authority. And from there, the core ideas just keep going, influencing laws, ethics, and art for centuries. Just an incredible ripple effect from a single voice.
All right, let's bring this all home. We've talked about the what, the how, and the then,
But what about the now? Why do these ancient voices and these incredible stories of courage still matter to us today?
Because really, when you strip everything else away, this is what's left. The core legacy of the prophets isn't about telling the future, it's about the timeless, courageous, and yeah, often dangerous act of speaking truth to power. And that is a legacy that we see echoed in every single generation's fight for a better, more just world.
And from that legacy, we get these amazing, timeless lessons that having the courage of your convictions really truly matters, that a single committed voice can in fact challenge an empire, that the fight for social justice isn't new, it's an ancient and unending call. And maybe most importantly, that hope isn't just a passive wish, it's a powerful, active force for change.
So I'll just leave you with this to think about. We are flooded with noise and information every single day. In the middle of all that, what is it that gives a message the power to last for millennia? What makes ideas like justice and courage and hope so tough, so resilient, that they can cut through thousands of years of history and still challenge us today? It's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks so much for joining me.